My husband swears he's just catching the gang with his friends. Really? My name is Sarah, and I'm arbitrarily 29 years old. I'm a nurse, and my life took a twist that I never expected after a simple text message from my husband, John. He claimed he was watching a baseball game with his friend, Mike, and that text would become the first domino in a series of events that would change my life forever. I've been a nurse for 5 years now, working at a university hospital. It's a challenging job, but it's also incredibly rewarding. I chose this path after a nurse's compassion during my own childhood illness saved me from loneliness and fear. Her words of comfort stayed with me, and I knew that nursing was my calling. John and I met at a party a few years ago, and it was one of those moments when everything just clicked. We had so much in common, and after 2 years of dating, he proposed to me. He told me he loved how I put my heart and soul into everything I did. We got married a year ago, but there was one issue that had been bothering me for a while. John didn't have a good relationship with his parents, and he didn't want them to be part of our wedding ceremony. We ended up tying the knot without much involvement from his family, but I secretly wished for them to be part of our lives. I decided to bring up the subject of his parents again, hoping that we could mend the strained relationship. My husband's reaction caught me off guard. He was clearly upset and told me that he didn't want to discuss his parents. It was as if a dark cloud had settled over our relationship. I couldn't understand why he was so resistant to involving his family in our lives. This was the beginning of a rough patch in our marriage. As the days passed, John's absences began to increase, especially on holidays. He was almost never home, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I finally mustered the courage to confront him about it, and it led to a tense conversation. "You've been going out a lot on your days off recently. Where do you go? Does it matter? Do I need to report everything to you?" he snapped. "What's with that tone? Do you have a reason you can't tell me?" I asked, half-jokingly. His response was unexpected, half-jokingly. "Why do you care so much about where I go? It's none of your business." I had a sinking feeling that something was terribly wrong. It didn't make sense. If he was visiting his parents as he claimed, why was he so evasive? My suspicions only grew stronger. I couldn't let it go. The more John avoided my questions, the more certain I became that he was hiding something. I felt a sense of desperation, not only because our marriage was at stake, but also because I needed to know the truth. As the days passed, my anxiety grew, and my doubts about John's honesty began to consume me. I realized I needed answers, and I decided that I couldn't let things continue this way. One day, I couldn't bear it any longer. I confronted him again, my voice laced with frustration. "You've been going out too often, and it's affecting our relationship. If you're revisiting your parents, why can't I come with you? What's the big secret?" John sighed deeply and replied, "I told you, I don't want to involve you with my family. They're not the kind of people you want to be around." The tension between us continued to mount, and I couldn't understand why he was so adamant about keeping his family away from our lives. It felt like there was a huge wall between us, and I had no way of breaking it down. But the breaking point came when a familiar patient was brought into the hospital where I worked. It was my brother-in-law, David, and he was in a critical condition. I rushed to his side, deeply concerned. "David, what happened?" I asked, my heart racing. He was barely conscious, but he managed to mumble, "Heat stroke, I think. Can't reach Emily." I immediately tried to call David's wife, Emily, but there was no answer, just the relentless ringing of the phone. I knew she was a stay-at-home wife, so it was strange that she wasn't answering. I was left with a sense of dread, and I had to find my husband. John was supposed to be at his parents' house, but something didn't add up. I called our home phone, and my mother-in-law answered. I hadn't spoken to her in a long time, and it was an awkward conversation. "Mother-in-law, it's Sarah. I'm sorry I haven't been in touch for so long." "Oh, Sarah, it's been a while. Are you doing well?" she responded. "Yes, thanks to you. But is Bob there now?" "Bob? I haven't seen him since he introduced you when you got married." My heart sank. It was impossible. If he wasn't visiting his parents, where was he? The doubts and suspicions I had been harboring had suddenly transformed into a harsh reality. Confused and desperate, I hesitantly asked, "Mother-in-law, isn't Bob there now?" "Bob? I haven't seen him since he introduced you when you got married." The shock and disbelief were overwhelming. If he hadn't been going to his parents' house, then where had he been all this time? I called John, and he finally answered. His voice was tense and irritated. "What is it?" "You keep calling. I'm busy." I couldn't contain my anger and frustration. Busy, even though you haven't even been to your parents' home. What's going on? Why can't you tell me where you've been? John hesitated for a moment and then replied, I'm watching baseball with Jake. Baseball? You can hear the cheers, but where are you really? He tried to dodge the question, but I wasn't letting go. The truth had to come out. Is that how you want to play this, John? You're lying, and I won't stand for it. A cacophony of voices in the background told me that he was indeed at a baseball game, but that wasn't the issue. The issue was that he had been lying to me, and I couldn't let it slide. In a final attempt to get to the bottom of things, I decided to confront him directly. How long are you going to be on the phone? You've been lying to me all this time. Emily, my sister-in-law, joined the conversation and defended him. Leave him alone. He's not lying. We're watching the game. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about a baseball game. This was about trust and honesty. I knew I had to take matters into my own hands. The anger and frustration that had been building inside me reached a boiling point as I listened to Emily's voice defending John. I felt betrayed and deceived, and I knew I couldn't just let this go. Innocence? Are you kidding me? You've taken advantage of my trust and betrayed me in the worst way possible, I shot back. I was determined to confront John about his lies and find out what was really going on. I'm divorcing you, I declared, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and sadness. There was a brief pause on the other end of the line, and then John stammered, Wait, I didn't mean... I'm not... What do you mean divorce? The conversation was escalating, and I was done with his excuses. How dare you say that after cheating on me? I have no intention of getting back together with you. You and that woman can go to hell. With those words, I hung up the phone, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't believe that the man I had loved and married had been unfaithful and had been lying to me for so long. It felt like a nightmare, and I needed to wake up from it. The days that followed were a blur of emotions. I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that my marriage had fallen apart so suddenly. The trust I had in John had been shattered, and I was left with a feeling of emptiness. As I processed the reality of our divorce, I decided to move forward with my life. I couldn't let this betrayal define me. I was determined to prove to myself that I could be happy on my own, that I could rebuild my life and find the strength to overcome this hardship. I leaned on my work as a nurse, finding solace in the smiles of my patients. Their gratitude and the impact I could have on their lives gave me a renewed sense of purpose. I focused on my career, on helping others, and on healing myself. Months went by, and the pain slowly began to recede. I started to rebuild my life, and I was thankful for the support of friends and family who stood by my side during this challenging time. I realized that I was stronger than I had ever thought, and that life could still hold happiness and fulfillment. My ex-husband's life took a different turn. Word got out about his affair and his involvement with my brother-in-law's wife. The consequences at his workplace were severe, and he eventually had to leave his job. His reputation was tarnished, and he faced the judgment of his colleagues. As for my brother-in-law's wife, her life took an unexpected turn as well. Her relationship with her husband crumbled, and she found herself facing the consequences of her actions. She had to come to terms with the choices she had made and the impact it had on her family. I also reconnected with my brother-in-law, David, and we decided to take control of our own destinies. We made 2 promises to each other: to ignore any calls for help from our respective ex-partners and to embrace our new lives without hesitation. It was a pact born out of resilience and the desire to move forward. As the years passed, we both found new paths in life. David recovered from his heat stroke, and we continued to support each other in our individual journeys. I remained dedicated to my work as a nurse, and I learned to appreciate the simple joys of life and the people who truly cared for me. The events that had once turned my life upside down had also taught me valuable lessons about trust, resilience, and the strength of the human spirit. Life had thrown me a curveball, but I had learned to hit it out of the park, finding happiness and contentment on my own terms. Years passed, and the wounds of betrayal and divorce gradually faded, leaving scars as a reminder of the resilience I had discovered within myself. Life had moved on, and so had I. My career as a nurse continued to be a source of fulfillment and purpose. The smiles of patients, the gratitude in their eyes, and the knowledge that I was making a difference in their lives became the foundation of my happiness. The weight of responsibility that came with my job didn't deter me. It inspired me to do my best every day. In my personal life, I found solace and support from friends and family who had stood by my side during the darkest days of my life. Their unwavering presence reminded me that I was not alone, and their love helped me heal. One of the greatest revelations that emerged from the ashes of my failed marriage was my own strength. I discovered that I was more resilient and independent than I had ever realized. The betrayal had tested my limits, but it hadn't broken me. It had made me stronger, more self-reliant, and more determined to shape my own destiny. As time passed, I also reconnected with my brother-in-law, David. Our shared experiences had brought us closer, and our pact to support each other as we forged new paths in life had not wavered. David's recovery from the heat stroke marked a turning point for him, and he, too, found new purpose and direction. My ex-husband, on the other hand, faced the consequences of his actions. His infidelity and the subsequent exposure had tarnished his reputation, leading to a strained relationship with his colleagues and ultimately forcing him to leave his job. The judgment and guilt he carried were a heavy burden that would follow him for years to come. As for my brother-in-law's wife, the choices she had made had also taken a toll on her life. Her relationship with David had disintegrated, and she had to confront the reality of her actions. The consequences of her affair had left her with a difficult road to navigate. Despite the turmoil and chaos that had once engulfed my life, I had emerged on the other side with a renewed sense of purpose and a commitment to embracing happiness on my own terms. Life had thrown me a curveball, but I had learned to hit it out of the park, finding contentment and fulfillment in the simplest joys of life. I knew that I could never erase the pain and betrayal of the past, but I could choose how I wanted to shape my future. With the support of those who cared about me, I had found the strength to rebuild my life and discover a happiness that was truly my own. In the end, the challenges I had faced had only made me more resilient, more compassionate, and more grateful for the moments of joy that life had to offer. The scars of my past would always be a part of me, but they were not my defining story. I had learned that even in the face of betrayal, I could find my way back to a life filled with love and purpose. The years that followed were marked by personal growth and self-discovery. I delved deeper into my nursing career, driven by a desire to make a positive impact on the lives of those in need. Each day at the hospital was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that life's challenges could be met with unwavering determination. In my personal life, I found solace in simple pleasures. I rekindled old friendships and forged new ones, nurturing a supportive network of people who had become an integral part of my life. The bonds I formed were based on trust, loyalty, and shared experiences, and they brought me a sense of belonging and warmth. The echoes of betrayal and the pain of divorce remained in my past, no longer defining me, but serving as a backdrop against which I measured my newfound strength. I was no longer the person who had been blindsided by her husband's lies. I was someone who had weathered the storm and emerged on the other side with her spirit intact. My connection with David grew stronger as time went by. We shared our triumphs and tribulations, providing a support system that proved invaluable in navigating the complexities of life. The pact we had made to stand together as we moved forward had become a symbol of resilience and the ability to overcome adversity. As for my ex-husband, his life took an unexpected turn. The consequences of his actions had left an indelible mark on his professional and personal life. The choices he had made had severed his connections, and he was left to confront the isolation and judgment he had once avoided. In contrast, my brother-in-law's wife faced the reality of her choices as well. The affair had unraveled her life, and she embarked on a path of self-reflection and healing, seeking to rebuild her sense of self and make amends for the pain she had caused. The years passed with a quiet determination, and life offered its share of ups and downs. Through it all, I discovered that the scars of the past were not badges of shame, but reminders of the strength I had uncovered within myself. They were a testament to the power of resilience, the beauty of second chances, and the enduring capacity of the human heart to heal. I learned that happiness was not solely dependent on the circumstances of life, but a choice that I could make each day. I found it in the kindness of friends, the smiles of my patients, and the quiet moments of reflection. My life was a tapestry of experiences, each thread contributing to the person I had become. And so I moved forward with a heart full of gratitude for the lessons I had learned. I was no longer defined by the pain of betrayal, but by the strength I had discovered in the process. Life had tested me, and I had emerged resilient, determined, and ready to embrace the joys and challenges that lay ahead. The story of my life was no longer a tale of betrayal. It was a narrative of resilience, redemption, and the unwavering belief in the power of the human spirit to endure and thrive. As the seasons continued to change, I embraced each moment with a newfound appreciation for the beauty of life. The scars of my past were no longer wounds that pained me, but reminders of the strength that had carried me through the storm. I was determined to live my life to the fullest and to make the most of every opportunity that came my way. My nursing career thrived, and I found myself taking on more responsibilities at the hospital. I had come to understand the significance of my role in the lives of patients, and I approached each day with a sense of purpose and dedication. The compassion and care I offered were not just a part of my job, but a reflection of the empathy I had garnered through my own trials. In my personal life, I continued to foster the relationships that had become my anchor. Friendships that had weathered the turbulence of my past were now a source of joy and laughter. I learned that true friendships were built on trust, acceptance, and the willingness to support one another in times of need. My connection with David had deepened over the years. We were no longer bound by our shared pain, but by the strength we had discovered within ourselves. Our pact to stand together in the face of adversity had evolved into a partnership built on mutual respect and a shared vision of the future. As for my ex-husband, he had embarked on a journey of self-discovery. The consequences of his actions had led him to reevaluate his choices and seek redemption. It was a path fraught with challenges, but it was a path he was willing to walk. My brother-in-law's wife, too, had undergone a transformation. She had faced the consequences of her actions and was determined to make amends. It was a process that required self-reflection, growth, and the courage to seek forgiveness. Life had a way of teaching us resilience, and I had become a student of its lessons. The scars of my past were no longer painful reminders, but badges of honor, proof of the strength I had cultivated through adversity. Each day was a testament to the power of choice and the capacity of the human heart to heal. I chose to embrace happiness, to find joy in the everyday moments, and to appreciate the simple pleasures of life. It was a conscious decision to live fully, to be present in the now, and to let go of the burdens of the past. The story of my life had evolved. It was no longer defined by betrayal, but by the triumph of the human spirit. It was a narrative of resilience, redemption, and the unwavering belief in the capacity to rise above adversity. And so I moved forward with a heart full of gratitude for the lessons learned. Life had tested me, and I had emerged stronger with an unwavering belief in the resilience of the human spirit. The future was a canvas waiting to be painted with the vibrant colors of joy, purpose, and the enduring capacity to find beauty in the most unexpected places.